Termites! Look, I got a Christmas tree. I'm not going to sit right here by it. I just do this for story time. But it's night 9. I haven't decorated the tree, but as time goes on, we'll see that. Night 9, and what are we drinking? A little something from the heart of my hearts. The Ozark Distillery Bourbon Whiskey. The Ozark Distillery is on the same road as where I live in the Ozarks, and I took the kids there once to do a little moonshine tasting. It was a lot of fun. Maybe not for them, but for Aunt Kat. Just a little taste. It's not like you're drinking and driving. Just little shots, tiny shots. Anywho, that's what we're drinking. And did you termites have a nice Thanksgiving? Me too. Pretty boring. My parents sent a video. If you haven't seen it, you should go on YouTube. Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait to the end, where my mom has a little something to say after they plan their skit. The fact that he has on a tie and a shirt, I'm like, what kind of Grey Garden shit are you guys getting into? And that arrived when I woke up. I woke up like at 8:30, so that had already been filmed. So if you want to see a little something on that, it's on my Twitter, it's in Instagram, it's on all of them. We're on chapter 6 of Loretta. How excited. This book's going to go fast, Termites. We better think of another book. This one's just flying by. Tanya's is a lot longer. Well, this is Loretta's second book, though. We didn't read. Everybody saw Coal Miner's Daughter, so we didn't read that one. About a year after I left Kentucky, remember she went out to the state of Washington with Dew. Daddy got real sick, and Mommy sent money for us to come home with a short letter that like to scare me to death. Quote, if you want to see him alive, you better come quick. Well, not a lot of sentimentality there, but certainly got the message through with as few words as possible. I was pregnant with our second child when we got that letter, but nothing could have stopped me from making that trip. I figured, F-I-G-G-E-R-E-D, they wrote out figured. I figured I'd made the trip to Washington while I was pregnant. I could darn well make it back to Kentucky pregnant. So we went home to Butcher Holler. By the time we got there, Daddy'd gotten better. The big news in Butcher Holler was jobs opening up in Wabash, Indiana. Dude decided to stick around a while and look into it. So Butcher Holler is where our son, Jack Benny, was born. When I went into labor, Dew and Mommy and me took me in the truck to the hospital and Doc Turner in Paintsville, Kentucky. She spent a lot of time going to Paintsville, the hospital in Paintsville. By the time we finally got inside that old contraption, I just wanted to lay down. The truck bounced all over the road and was wide, and the ride was rough. And in some places, the mud was so deep we got stuck. Dew and Mommy was both smoking up a storm. Oh, good for them. I thought I'd die from all the smoke before I ever delivered, or else the baby would bounce out of me right there in the truck. But somehow we made it to Paintsville, and Jack just barely got born in a hospital. Praise the Lord. Exactly. A lot of people, I think I named him after the comedian Jack Benny, but I didn't. I'd never even heard of the famous Jack Benny. I like the names Jack and Benny, and that's the long and short of it. That's it. Don't overthink things when we're talking about the hillbillies. Just go with it. Jack was a lot like Daddy. For some reason, as he grew up, Dew made fun of him because of it too. I always felt Dew carried a little resentment towards Daddy because he thought nobody would ever replace him in my heart. Truth is, once my kids was born, I just had more people to love. See, there again, it's just the simplicity of it. Don't be reading nothing into it. It was during that week visit back to Butcher Holler that Dew's cheating got throwed right up in my face again. Throwed right up in my face again. Wow. It got thrown up in the face of the whole family because he got caught running around with the wife of one of my brothers. Oh, my God. Just when you think a hillbilly can't get any more Billy, they do it. Wow, of a brother. Where'd I lose it? The whole thing got found out when Dew and my brother decided to go up to Wabash to see about them jobs people was talking about. I stayed in Butcher Holler with Betty Sue and the new baby. Well, my brother came back to the holler one night, crying and carrying on. I woke up and Daddy asked what was going on, but he told me to go back to bed. Mommy was more realistic about what I needed to know. She marched right in there while I was sleeping and told me that my brother had caught his wife and Dew in bed together. The next morning, Dew's mama got in charge. Got in charge. I'm not reading that wrong. The next morning, Dew's mama got in charge. She told me to come with her to Wabash and get Dew, and I followed right along. I think that because I just had a baby, I was too tired and confused to argue, but I didn't know no better anyway. So Dew's mama dragged me back to Dew, and like a good wife, I stayed. The way it looked, even at 15, she's 15. I keep forgetting that. Oh, my God. When you get knocked down, you get back up. Dust it off, get on with it. My brother left his wife for quite a while after that happened. Well, good for him. And by the time they got back, what a strange Thanksgiving they would have had. Oh, my God. Now, did you sleep with him? I did. It was just once. We got to drinking some moonshine. He just always kind of looked cute to me. By the time they got back together, me and Dew was on our way back to Washington State in an old junk car Dew bought. The Green brothers welcomed us back like we was family. I think they felt sorry for me and the kids as much as they liked Dew. They wasn't always sure he was taking good care of us. I'd call it questionable. In fact, when Jack Benny was about 5, one of the brothers even offered to adopt him. What? If he has parents? Jack was always helping the brothers, handing them nails when they was working and running little errands for them like me. They thought the sun rose and set on that boy. I know the Green brothers thought they could give Jack a better life, and here's the truth of it. If it hadn't been for my music, they could have from a money point of view, but they could have never given Jack as much love, and besides, nothing could make me permanently part with one of my children then or now. Only God could. Well, I'm glad we've established that. Wow. Even after getting caught cheating with my own sister-in-law, Dew didn't change when we got back to Washington. He told me he'd go off to working or hunting, and he'd be gone as long as 2 weeks. I knew he was with women. I knew he was cheating, and I was already beginning to learn to live with it. What else is she going to do, though? I get it. What are you going to do? You don't have a job. You got 2 kids. I'd stay home working in the bachelor's garden or in my own garden with my baby sitting on a blanket beside me. Times we ran out of food, the bachelor's helped. We went without food, or I boiled dandelion greens. I was in Washington State. It was in Washington State that I killed that pheasant with a rifle with no stock. Ernest Ray, my 3rd child, was born in Washington. And I'm sure he's probably named Ernest Ray because she just likes the name Ernest and Ray. Don't y'all go overthinking. What does that mean? Probably nothing. I heard, Ernest Ray, my 3rd child, was born in Washington. Hank Williams died when I was pregnant with Ernest Ray. I heard it on the radio. When Dew come home that night, I was still crying. He thought I was sick from the pregnancy. No, I said, Hank Williams died. Well, what in the world's that got to do with all this carrying on, he asked. I loved Hank Williams, I said. Ain't nobody ever gonna sing like him again. And they ain't. All righty. What about Elvis? I know he didn't sing like him, but he was pretty good. It was after him. The events around Ernest Ray's birth are painful to me to get back on, to think back on. Dew was off working construction. I had to get a girlfriend to drive me to the hospital. I struggled with Ernest's delivery for 3 days and nights. Oh, Lord. And I'm still struggling with him. Uh-oh. What does that mean? What has Ernest done? For a hillbilly to mama say one of her children is a struggle, that means shit show. That's what I'm guessing. Doctors urged me to have a cesarean, but I was too young to sign a consent form. They couldn't find Dew. I had a bed by the window, and I'd watch for Dew every day. I was there the whole week watching women's husbands walk up to drive, carrying flowers and candy. I remember how the doctor who delivered Ernest Ray was real mad at Dew for not being with me and for being so hard to find. One night I heard him tell a nurse, if that son of a bitch comes here at 3 a.m, you make him go see that little girl. Dew didn't come to the hospital in Washington until 6 days after Ernest Ray was born. Oh, my God. Wow. I went ahead and named him Ernest Ray after a boss of mine who was always nice to do with me, a fellow named Ernest Crandall. A lot later, it says that, a lot later. Wow. This would be harder to write than actually writing correctly. Figured that one, really. Dern, D-U-R-N, that Dern something, that was in type. Wow. A lot later, Duke confessed he'd spent the money he'd saved to come back in time for the baby's birth on a new camera. What? A camera? Lord. Like I said, dues money was dues. Right, but you're in the hospital having a baby and there's no sign of this jackstraw. We might not have had bread in the house, but we had a fishing boat in the yard and camera equipment in the closet. I never liked that boat in the first place because I'm terrified of water. When Dew would take us to the ocean, I sat inside and clung to the sides as the high waves of the Pacific tossed our little boat here and yonder. I wore a life jacket, but never found out if it would keep me afloat, thank God. I ran up and down the bank, hollering at my family out in the waves. The one time I was sure I was going to lose one of my babies to the water, Dew. This one time I was sure I was going to lose one of my babies to the water. Dew kept insisting I let Ernest Ray learn to try to ski. I was dead set against it. Ernest was 5, and he couldn't have held his own in the rough ocean. They're going to ski in the ocean? No. You're from Kentucky. You know you do that in the lake. I mean, that's where you learn. A 5-year-old in an ocean. Oh, my God. Ernest was 5, and he couldn't have held his own in a rough ocean, especially wearing a pair of skis. And I'm sure back then they were basically just 2 planks of wood with a hole in it where your foot goes. Each ski was taller than he was, so they weren't even children's skis, really. So Duke concentrated on teaching Jack, Benny, and Betty. Jack was out in the water, and Duke was hollering at him to stay up on the skis. Ernest Ray was hollering, too. Me could key. Oh, now they're writing like a child. Me could key, but mommy won't wet me. They wrote that sentence. M-E, me, could key for ski, K-I, but mommy won't wet me. Ernest Ray was always calling me mommy. I smiled thinking about it. All of a sudden, Dew pulled the boat to shore, grabbed Ernest by the collar on his life jacket, and hurled him into the Pacific. What? I was positive he was going to drown or get eaten by a shark. Ernest's little hands and arms were beating on the water. He was fighting to stay on top. Of course, the life jacket held him up, but he was a little boy, and he didn't understand that. Neither did his mother. Help, help, I began to scream, running faster now up and down the shore. My baby's drowning. Help, help me, Mommy. I'm drowning on down. I'm drowning on down, Ernest screamed. Crowd gathered in no time. Dew saw all the people my screaming brought around, and he waded out into the water, snatched Ernest by his life jacket, and brought him in. But even now, Ernest remembers the horrible fear he had that day. From the look on Dew's face, I knew I was in trouble for causing such a commotion. I sort of slunk back into the crowd. Damn, woman, he yelled. I'll throw you in the water if you don't shut up. You can imagine them other campers lined up on the beach and what they thought of us hillbillies. And I didn't care. That's part of being a hillbilly. I don't care if we fight in the gas station, motherfucker. I don't care if we're in church. I don't care where we are as long as I win the fight. I was afraid, however, he was going to whip my butt right there on the beach. But since he had an audience, he just fussed and fumed and packed up to leave. Looking back on it now, I'm surprised Ernest Ray didn't go a little crazy from the way Dude tried to toughen him up. And since Ernest Ray would be the first to admit he drinks way too much now, he might have even said he did get a little crazy from it. I remember when Ernest Ray was around 7, we went to Yellowstone National Park. We were walking across this bridge over a great big waterfall. Dew wanted everyone to look down over this side of the bridge, but Ernest was scared to go over the edge. That irritated Dew. Seemingly, it didn't seem manly. Ernest kept inching towards the wall. Dew kept getting madder because Ernest didn't run up and lean over the edge. Finally, Dew ran up behind Ernest, picked him up by his ankles, and dangled him upside down above the roaring waterfall. It scared Ernest so bad I thought he'd wet his pants. I know I'd have liked to have died. A lot of folks, maybe men and maybe women too, have thrown a kid into the water to make him learn to swim or scared him in some mean way, but it's not right to do, and I knew it wasn't right back then, and I still know it. But for Dew, it was simply making men out of his boys. One thing Ernest by an Ernest that has always stayed with me. He's always in a good mood, even after all that. He was that way from the start. People tell me they'd never met anybody who's always happy. When he was a baby, I'd get up at daylight, fix Dude's breakfast, look over at Ernest Ray in his bed. He'd look back at me and smile. I could put him on the blanket in the field next to the other babies. He'd kick and giggle and smile right in the heat of the day. I don't want to leave the impression that all of the trips that our family took in Washington was terrible. Well, so far, are not seeming like something you'd want to film, you know? Yeah. Sometimes these trips are fine. We'd get white bread on for our bologna or our fried egg sandwiches, and we'd eat the leftover bread slices just like cake. Sometimes we even had pop, 1 Coke apiece. That was something we never had except for special occasions. Dude would bring the camera. He'd take lots of pictures. He would get in a good mood. He'd sing and tell jokes. He would be a charmer, dude. He could be a charmer, dude could. Those times were wonderful. And I'd forget about all the women and the drinking and the temper and hanging the kids by their feet over waterfalls. That's probably my biggest problem here. In the years since Dude died, I found myself thinking about the good times, not much about the bad. I'm not sure why. Another scene of my life that never made it into my first book and movie would be Dude's green bean rampage. Okay, we may have to stop at this, and you're just going to have to wait to hear, because I don't know it either. I always canned food during the garden season. I had 2 cookers used for canning beans. All right, we're going to stop there because we want to hear about the green bean rampage. There we go. All right, termites. Oh my God, the Madigan's Pubcast t-shirts are available too. I forgot to tell you that. They're live on the website. They're available. They're long sleeve. Why? Because it's winter. And they're super soft. I guarantee it. Because what do I hate? You know what I hate? A crunchy bar t-shirt. You get all excited. And there's termite shirts left too if you want your night termite shirt. I don't have long sleeves in those. I figured the podcast one was more Christmassy because it's got green on it. Yeah. So, and I went ahead and spent the extra money for the larger termites out there. Yes, those do cost more. And I'm not charging more because I think, well, you know, maybe some of you feel bad if you've got an extra large during the quarantine. You shouldn't. But I don't want to make you feel worse and go, your shirt is $2 more, which technically it is. But Mama Termite going to eat that charge. That's right. Mama's going to eat it. All right. That's it. We'll get back on it for the green bean rampage. Tuck yourselves in. Now it's really getting cold in the Midwest, which is what my shirt says, by the way. It's in the 40s now, I think, sadly, permanently. No more golf. Probably no more fishing. Indoor activities. All right. Pull your blanket up. Get a nice Hallmark movie on. Try to watch Hallmark Murders and Mysteries. They're a little less Christian-y, shall we say. Like they let people kiss and drink. All right. Pull your blanket up. You tucked in? You're a good termite? You're a worthy termite? You're a holiday termite. How about that? All right, that's it. Night-night termites.